All right, everybody. Welcome back to Beans No Ball. The coffee's in hand. You know what that means. It's the return of Sunday chat. We got obviously the 30 remaining teams that gonna get to play today and tomorrow. The road to Vegas starts now. So let's get started. Christian, obviously, let's reintroduce what we do on Sunday chat.
Yeah, so obviously Sunday chat's just small little videos we do every Sunday, which we go over fantasy, little news updates, and just a video to get up. So obviously we are switching it up a bit. So I think the only thing that we're kind of switching up is we're removing last minute takes of both our teams, since we'll go a little bit more in depth with that with the previews and the recaps. So obviously without further ado, let's get started. David, if you want to kick it off with some of the recent news.
Yeah, so actually there's a big one for me. It came out just a couple of days ago. It's probably what's going to kill my team's hopes before the season even started. Cooper Kupp's out. So he was out for week 1 to begin with, and now just recently it came out that he's going to be placed on IR. So he'll be out for a minimum of 4 games, and for us that's going to be 4 really important games. I was already expecting us to start 0-3 with Seahawks, Niners, and the Bengals coming up, and now we got it just gets even worse. Without Kupp, our chances were already slim, and now we got this injury. So it's just hope to see if, like what I've been talking about, if these other receivers can step up, but it's going to be really hard for the Rams.
Yeah, we know how Cooper Kupp is very viable for Matthew Stafford, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. Non-injury related news for the first part. Mike Evans, him and the Buccaneers were not able to reach a long-term deal. I think it was yesterday that they gave him the deadline, September 9th. So obviously he's gonna play through the season in a contract. So this is gonna be his contract year, and we see how consistent Mike Evans has been since entering the league. He's got 1,000 yards every year. Arguably the most consistent receiver in the league. He's always been putting up numbers like that for the Buccaneers. Gladly he finally got a ring out of it with Tom Brady, which is great. But obviously he'll just have to play. He'll just have to play his heart out for that big contract extension this year.
Yeah, obviously, we know we'll see. It's gonna be weird seeing him in a different uniform, but obviously that's gonna be it. And keeping it into contract news, we see that Justin Jefferson and the Vikings, they were trying to come to an agreement recently throughout. We see all the contracts that being reached. We know that teams always try to get their big guys extended right before the season. Just like Evans, there won't be any contract finished off for Justin Jefferson. Obviously, it's just obviously he wants more money. He wants the big name money, and nothing agreed upon right now. So he'll play out. They'll see if they can get anything done in the regular season, but it's looking more and more likely that he won't get a deal done until this next coming off season.
Yeah, and you both know Justin Jefferson is 100% guaranteed of that money with what he's been putting up with Minnesota. Another contract-related news: Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers. They could not reach a deal with him as well. So obviously, same thing with Jay Jettis and Mike Evans. He will be playing this season without a contract. So again, it's going to be his contract year. And we see how Brian Burns has been lately. He's been a pretty great defensive player. I wouldn't consider him, elite in that category yet, but he is working his way one of the best. So I think if he really shows out this season, he's definitely going to be worth the money for Carolina.
Of course, we know how highly sought after he is. See, my Rams were ready to offer 2 first-round picks for him last year at the deadline. So he's obviously one of the premier defensive players. And just closing it off, just a little more, I guess, contract news or trade news, if you will, because the big news in fantasy in the whole league, Jonathan Taylor, obviously we know he was placed on the PUP list. He's going to be out at least 6 weeks, and the Dolphins have been rumored to still be searching for a trade. We know it was pretty much between them and the Packers, but of course the Dolphins were the key team. We know they kind of just shut down the Colts when they tried to ask for Jalen Waddle in that deal. And so it really looks like they're going to keep trying to make a push for him. Slight backup option. He may still play with the Colts this season. He may still, get an extension done, but it's only if he gets that big money, which, looking at Jim Irsay, it's tough to tell if that ever will happen. But moving on, we're going to reintroduce our fantasy lineups. Now, obviously, last season we would only obviously go through our starters. This year we'll be more the same. We won't go through our whole lineup. We'll just kind of run through how the kind of our key players more than anything. But today, obviously, we're just going to reintroduce our teams we're running with this season, and we'll kind of give updates along the way. So for me, mine will be up on screen, of course. My quarterback's Tua Tagovailoa. Kind of would have wanted to get a little higher value. I tried to make some moves, but nothing came up. I'm still really confident with them. I have them going into the AFC Championships this season, of course, and this week in particular, I do see him having a really good game. Obviously, in a game you highlighted against the Chargers, I expect him to do pretty decent against that defense. They're not the best, as we both know, so expecting good things from him. My running backs, I'll get more into that in my bench. I got a really big thing to talk about there, but as of right now, my RB1 is Alexander Mattison from the Vikings. We see the great production he gave last season, even with Dalvin Cook on that roster. So now him being the solid RB1, I do expect him to give me good production. And someone I just traded for, trade finalized yesterday, Cam Akers, obviously of my Rams. Haven't really been the highest on him. I've always talked about this, but his production has always been contingent on our O-line. So if we get any improvement, he should easily be a really solid option for me. So I do expect at least some improvement from what's been the norm as of late. For my receivers, I got Debo as my first option. I believe he was my second or third pick in the draft. I mean, we know what he's done. He had a drop off last season, of course, but I really do think he's gonna come back to form. Not anywhere near what he did in 2021. That was probably, his outlier season, his one and done, if you will, season. But I really do expect him to at least improve from the production he had last year. And my second receiver on my lineup, probably my biggest regret, as I benched another option for him. I started Kadarius Toney, and he got me 1 point on Thursday night. I'll probably go into more of a rant when we go over that game for the next episode, but yeah, 1 reception, 1 yard, can't get much worse than that. For my tight end, another big issue I had that I'm gonna go over on my bench, but it's I'm gonna have to roll with Greg Dulcich from the Broncos, which going against the Raiders, I do expect some good production from him. With the resurgence that we're expecting from Russ, I do see him getting some good production, especially with them having trouble with their receivers having injuries. At my flex, I got someone really, really near and dear to us, Michael Pittman Jr. Really happy I got to pick him up. Always try to get him on my fantasy teams, especially now that I'm expecting him to have a more competent quarterback. I really think this is going to be a good move here. And obviously we know I always rotate my defenses. Starting the season with the Commanders defense here, they got an easy game against the Cardinals, so that's going to be my key thing. I really think they're going to get solid production. And my kicker for the year is going to be Jake Elliott. Solid, not in the upper tier, but he's just one of the really solid guys in the league, so I'm happy about getting him. And we'll see my bench on screen here now. The 2 main guys I really want to talk about, it's just probably the unluckiest things I got to happen to me. I got Travis Kelce, of course. The reason I'm starting Dulcich, that knee hyperextension really screwed me over for week 1, and obviously I started Toney expecting him to get more production, and that didn't really happen. So hopefully he's back soon so I can get my tight end roll back and going. And at the bottom, I got him back on my IR, Jonathan Taylor. It's, come at me all you want for drafting him. I waited a little bit. I believe I got him in the 6th or 7th round. It was probably not the smartest thing to do, but come week 5, if he's back on the field, I do believe he's still going to be a really solid option for me. Hopefully he gets traded. If he does get traded to the Dolphins, that's going to be really good for me. So really just hoping for the best with him.
Yeah, so obviously your fantasy team's a little down there, but hopefully Travis Kelce's injury is not too serious. He gets to come back. It's really your main issue. But now when we're looking at my fantasy team, so obviously it's up on the screen right here. So obviously at quarterback, once again, I got my guy Dak Prescott. Always gonna get Dak at my QB. That's just how it is. Especially with the hopes I have for him this season. You know how, he kind of screwed me a bit last season with the amount of interceptions. Some games did cost me a couple games here and there, but I got my trust in him this season. His work ethic from the offseason changed a little bit, so hopefully we'll get more production with him and throwing less picks. And then with my running back one, I got Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, arguably top 15 running back in the league. He's been putting up numbers with the Browns. Sadly, it is with the Browns that he can't put up this production with a good team at least. But obviously Nick Chubb, I got him. So I think or second round. He was an early round pick, Nick Chubb. So I had to pick him up quickly because I knew he would get a lot of production for me. And then my running back 2, I got Joe Mixon from the Bengals. Joe Mixon, you can have your things here or there about Joe Mixon, but he does pretty good on the ground with the Bengals. And I know his production may be cut short, obviously with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins at the receiving end, but obviously rushing wise, once he gets the touches, he can put up what he can. And then obviously for my receiver 1, once again, I had to get CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee's been improving ever since we drafted him in 2020. From his rookie season up to now, he just had very great improvement. Obviously coming off a 1,000-yard season, hopefully capitalizing on that with another one. Hopefully he can stay consistent. And now that we actually have our two other receivers that could have put more work on him instead of CD, so it wouldn't put too much stress on him. And then obviously with my receiver 2, which was the guy you wanted, I got Calvin Ridley. So I obviously a lot of buzz going around Calvin Ridley, T-Law. They're gonna have a connection, very great connection, even though they haven't played yet. But Calvin Ridley, he is a viable option for me for my receiver 2, since T-Law is the one throwing him. So hopefully that connection can be pretty okay. We saw glimpses of that in preseason. Then for my tight end, it's a very iffy spot since I did draft him later on. I have Dawson Knox from the Bills. Dawson Knox, he's a pretty good tight end. Don't get me wrong. He's pretty good. He can have his great moments, glimpses here and there. But obviously with Josh Allen and his connection with Stephon Diggs, hopefully Dawson gets a little bit of production for me, but we'll just have to see for that. And then for the flex, once again, I got George Pickens again. George Pickens, he's going to be a dog in these upcoming years when he's in the league. He's going to look great. He's going to be possibly, hopefully he is one of the best in the league, but right now still got a lot to work. But, I'm expecting him to, have a, really good season this year with the Steelers. We saw how he was during pre-season training camp. He looked very good, he looked explosive. But he's going against the Niners, and how that defense is. But, taking the gamble, hopefully he does well for me. Then for defense, it was a no-brainer. I had to stick with my Cowboys defense. I mean, we see how elite their defense is. Was going to get the Niners, but their defense was obviously taken late, little early, late round-ish. But obviously my Cowboys was still up there. And we are going against the Giants, and, the way we play against the Giants, I expect my D to get pretty good amount of points. Then for my kicker, I got Chris Boswell from the Steelers. Chris Boswell, arguably one of the best kickers in the league as we speak right now. Obviously, he isn't Justin Tucker, but he's still a very great kicker. So obviously, great pick. It was a nice pickup for me. But again, going against San Francisco, so another gamble I will have to take. But he does got a leg, so he will get me points. Now moving on to my bench. My first player on my bench is Jordan Addison. Rookie receiver from the Vikings. There's a lot of good hope for him. We saw how he was at USC during his USC days. Receiver, really great glimpses of him, and now him going side by side with Justin Jefferson. That could possibly be a top 10 duo in the league. But obviously, with the way Kirk Cousins is and how it is consistency, we don't know if Jordan has to get any touches. But I really have high hopes from him. Then from my bench QB, my backup, I got Anthony Richardson. That's another really good pick for me for my backup. Obviously everyone's already preying on his not preying on his downfall, but they're already like, you know, they're all thinking like, oh, he's not gonna do well. Look at this Colts team, blah blah blah. But you know, I'm really rooting for this guy. I'm really rooting for him to you know, succeed in the league. But also got him in my backup. And obviously for my another highlight from my bench is Van Jefferson at receiver. Obviously that's your guy. Obviously with Kupp going to be out, he is going to be Stafford's #1 option for the first couple weeks until Cooper is back. So I'm really hoping if Van, you know, does look any better than George Pickens, would switch him up for the flex. But you know, Van Jefferson, you know, he's a good receiver. He's been doing well for the Rams. Just hopefully Stafford gets to throw to him.
Yeah, obviously I'm hoping good things come from him. Hopefully he does get into your starting lineup if he gets into that production. And last thing, I'm still gonna keep pushing you to trade Ridley. I'm not gonna stop all year, so that's gonna keep happening. But obviously we're gonna move into our final segment, one of our favorite segments to get into. It's cash or trash. Obviously we'll rotate positions. We'll start it off at quarterback, and right off the bat for me, my cash quarterback for the first week is gonna be Joe Burrow. Kind of a no-brainer for me. I'm expecting him to be the MVP. So I really, especially going against the Browns, nothing special on defense there. I really do expect him to cook with Jamar and T. Higgins, just that offense in general. I'm expecting a big win for the Bengals here. So kind of no-brainer pick for me to, you know, he's available for us right now, so I'm gonna use him. And as for trash, you know, I was kind of debating with a couple, but I'm gonna go with CJ Stroud. No, nothing against the guy. It's just, you know, what can the Texans really do for him, especially going against the Ravens, which they don't have the best defense, don't get me wrong, but it's a pretty good defense. And you know, just couple that with how the level that we're expecting from Houston this year, I really think that Stroud's gonna struggle, at least in his debut. You know, probably throw a couple picks, but you know, we'll see how he does moving forward. But regardless, I'm expecting probably a shitter from him this week.
That would be good. And obviously for my cash quarterback, I got Lamar Jackson. I think this is a pretty no-brainer as well. Obviously you mentioned Texans are going against them, so Lamar Jackson, we saw, you know, finally getting his big contract, recovering from an injury. So I think he's gonna have a really big season upon him, and obviously going against the Texans should be a pretty walk in the park win for him. So I do expect some big numbers putting up from him. Then for my cash quarterback, like you said, I did debate between one or two, but I decided to stick with Desmond Ridder from the Falcons. I just don't see any production going from Ridder so far. Obviously it sucks him coming off his barely his second year, going to be in starting, and it's just from the way the Falcons look right now, I just don't see any hope for him in the future. So I got Desmond Ridder with the trash pick this week.
Yeah, and well, news just came in, you know, Falcons aren't gonna have Cordell Patterson, so that pick looks even better for you right now. But that's just about gonna wrap us up for the first Sunday chat. You know, finally get back into this groove, ready to just start getting back into football, and we're just gonna sit down for a good 7 hours, just watch some Red Zone right now. So get this video out to you guys right now, get you some early NFL news, and you know, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys Wednesday for the recap of these games.